There are rock guitarists, and then there are the players who changed what the guitar was supposed to do. This list is not just about speed or fame. It is about impact, attitude, and the moments that made people stop and listen. And from here, the first name takes us back to the roots of rock itself. At number 10,
Dimebag Darrell.
Before rock guitar turned into a battlefield of solos, distortion, and volume, gave the instrument its first real personality. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame says that after Elvis Presley, no one had more influence on the formation and development of rock and roll than Berry. At number 9, Keith Richards. If Chuck Berry gave rock guitar its structure, Keith gave it attitude, danger, and a kind of loose swagger that made everything feel more alive. Britannica describes Richards as the Rolling Stones' guitarist and one of the band's core songwriters, and his style helped define the sound of hard-driving rock for decades. At number 8, Tony Iommi. This is where rock starts getting heavier for real. Black Sabbath did not just play loud music. Britannica describes them as the band that defined heavy metal in the 1970s, built around ominous guitar riffs, slow churn tempos, and a dark, foreboding image. But the next guitarist did something just as dramatic in a completely different way. At number 7,
Slash.
If Iommi made rock darker,
Slash.
May made it bigger. Queen's sound was built on layered guitar work and massive harmonies, and Britannica specifically points to May's virtuoso guitar playing as one of the reasons the band sounded so distinct. And from here, the list only gets more emotional, more iconic, and more impossible to argue with. At number 6, David Gilmour. This is the point in the list where pure flash gives way to something deeper. Gilmour is not the kind of guitarist who tries to overwhelm you with speed. Britannica describes his style as bluesy, with solos that often rely on rich, sustained notes rather than short, fast runs. But the next guitarist brought a different kind of genius, one built on grit, phrasing, and pure blues fire. At number 5,
Ritchie Blackmore. Ritchie
is one of the most important bridge figures in rock guitar history because he helped connect blues tradition to mainstream rock in a way that millions of players studied afterward. And from here, the ranking moves into the names that defined rock on the biggest possible scale. At number 4, Jimmy Page. This is where the list stops being about great guitarists and starts entering pure rock mythology. Page is the guitarist who founded Led Zeppelin in 1968, the band that became one of the most successful and influential groups in rock history. And somehow, even with all that legendary status, the next names on this list still pushed the guitar into places nobody expected. At number 3,
Angus Young.
By the early 1980s, a lot of people believed blues-based rock guitar was fading into the background. Then
Angus Young
showed up and completely changed the conversation. Britannica says his fiery technique helped spark a blues rock revival in the mid-1980s, and that description barely captures how intense his playing really was. And then came the player who completely shocked the guitar world with pure innovation. At number 2, Eddie Van Halen. Few guitarists in history have caused the kind of reaction Eddie did when audiences first heard him play. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame says he revolutionized rock guitar with his dazzling technique and explosive creativity. And honestly, that might still be an understatement. Before Eddie, guitar solos followed certain rules. After Eddie, those rules were shattered. And despite all the technical monsters who came after him, there is still one player most musicians place above everyone else. The man who changed the instrument forever. At number 1, Jimi Hendrix. This is the name that almost always ends the debate. Britannica says Hendrix redefined the electric guitar by blending blues, rock, jazz, and soul into a completely new sound, and that influence still echoes through rock music today. So now the question goes to you. Who would make your top 10 list, and which guitarist do you think deserves the number 1 spot?